Their response to the compensation program from SoCal Edison in a morning news conference.
That's right. Coco McAvoy joins us live from Altadena with all the details. Coco.
Good morning. We are here at Good Neighbor Bar in Altadena, and a press conference is just about to start any second now here with residents that were survivors from the Eaton Fire, but also from the Eaton Fire Survivors Network. You can see that they're standing at the podium right now, and they're going to get started.
Good morning. My name is Joy Chen. I am Executive Director of the Eaton Fire Survivors Network. We are a grassroots community of over 8,500 neighbors. It's been 9 months since Edison's fire destroyed our homes, our lives, and our community. The human toll on all of us, on the survivors you see behind me, has been staggering. Hundreds of our neighbors died in the months since the fire, the night of January 7th, and in the months that followed. Thousands of us more remain displaced. Families are still scattered all over, still waiting for fair settlements, and still unable to come home. One survivor told us, "The expense of this ordeal, emotionally and financially, my daughter may have to put her college on hold. We may have to live far away from our home of 25 years because it's not safe to live in. The impact that it's had on my mental health and my marriage, I'm not sure my husband will see our way through this together." Another survivor shared, "We can never get back what was taken from us. We no longer have that illusion of security. We're struggling to remain hopeful while dealing with the financial fallout from losing everything we owned and all the systems that we believed in." These stories remind us that recovery isn't about numbers on a balance sheet. It's about thousands of families struggling to rebuild our lives, restore our health, and keep a roof on our heads in the meantime. And that meantime could be a very long time. The Los Angeles Times studied California's 5 most destructive fires between 2017 and 2020 and found that only 37% of homes were rebuilt within 5 years. 2 factors made the difference: insurance payments and, when a utility was at fault, utility payments. Where those payments were timely and fair, communities recovered. Where they were delayed or inadequate, neighborhoods never came back. That is what is at stake here. This is not about blame. This is about fairness and reasonableness. Edison took an important first step by publishing its draft wildfire recovery compensation protocol on September 17th, and we want to acknowledge that. But under this proposal, most Eaton Fire survivors would receive only a fraction of what PG&E paid its Camp Fire victims, and PG&E was bankrupt. Edison is solvent, profitable, and backed by the California Wildfire Fund. For it to offer less than a bankrupt company is not defensible. Some of us here will pursue litigation. Others hope for an early settlement. But we share one goal: a plan that is fair, reasonable, and sufficient to move rebuilding forward, especially for those most at risk of being left behind or pressured into inadequate settlements. Today, we are joined here by dozens of remarkable, resilient survivors who have been through so much and yet are here standing together. We do not come in anger or in blame. We come in the spirit of collaboration. We are ready to move forward. And to do that, we are here to say to Edison, fix what you broke. Here's how today will go. We'll have 3 short speakers, followed by Q&A with the media, and afterwards, many of our survivors will be available for on-the-record interviews. To my fellow survivors, please feel free to stay after the program, connect with each other, and if a reporter approaches you, consider sharing your story. It's only through our stories that we build the public understanding and the will needed to close the gaps in our recovery and to get Edison's attention. If you're not up to speaking today, that's perfectly fine. You can always say no comment to any reporter. Your presence here already speaks volumes. So to begin, I would like to introduce one of our community's most important leaders, Zaire Calvin. He has been at the front lines of caring for displaced families, listening to their stories, and helping keep our community connected through these long and difficult months. Zaire?
First, I always want to start off with taking a moment of silence for all the ones that we've lost during this fire, and just for the prayers of those families and what they're going through, which takes an extra toll. Thank you. The biggest part that I want to start off with Edison and everything that's going on is the good faith part that they should have done or can do ahead of time is the remediation of all the properties in our neighborhood to make sure that we can come back to something that's not toxic and not polluted, which is so important. So the good faith would be, instead of having a report that comes out to compensate after, why not be ahead of the game and make sure that the remediation of all of our homes are taken care of in good faith, regardless of the program, regardless of anything, to show, since they were the ones that actually burned us down. So that would be the soil testing and everything else that needs to be done, which they have the money to do. That would be a good faith by Edison to show, hey, we'll do all the soil testing. We'll take care of all of that to make sure that we have the chance to come back. The pain that the families are going through, we are still displaced. We are still worried. We are still scared, nervous. Families are still all over the place. The money that they have, that they get from insurance, is running out. It's coming out fast. People have faced eviction notices. People have moved over 20 times. Imagine picking up your family and having to keep moving every single time, literally going, okay, I have to get the baby, I have to do this, I have to get all of these different people in line over and over and over again over a span of months. And this is not just for the ones who've lost their home. These are renters who have been fighting to get their homes remediated and to get back in their homes. Their lives have been ripped apart. Like Joy said, with families, there's a lot of marriages that aren't making it because of the stress and toil of families being ripped apart. All of these stories are real, and all of these stories are still happening every day. I just came back from D.C. to explain and try to get the understanding of what we're going through on a day-to-day basis. And everything that is said is true. All the other fires, I've met with people from Bobcat to Paradise to Woolsey to the Oregon fire, doing research for the last 6 months. And the reason they do not recover is because of the financial toll that's happening. It's the predatory side of it, where they steal our money and it doesn't get back to us, which is disaster capitalism. Then the other side is the recovery side and the insurance paying to make sure that people can get back and have what they lost. That has been the hardest part about this. We need to be seen as actual human beings and not numbers, not just another tragedy. We need to be seen as human beings who worked hard for everything that we have, and everything was taken from us. So with that said, again, Edison needs to show good faith and do soil testing and remediation for all of our homes as a start for the whole community, to make sure that we can be made whole ahead of any type of contract or any type of deal that is going on, is what I would ask. Thank you.
Thank you. Anytime I'm with my friend Zaire, I am just so moved by his leadership, This is a man who lost 2 homes in this fire, lost his own sister the night of the fire, and yet he is out there every single day leading in our community, ensuring that the most vulnerable in our community are not left behind. Survivors are not victims. Survivors are civic leaders. And it has been so touching to me to see so many people. Every survivor you see behind me is a civic leader, is leading somehow in this recovery. We are moving the Eaton Fire recovery forward. We have 2 more civic leaders to introduce. Next, I'd like to bring up Andrew Wessels. He is the Eaton Fire Survivors Network Strategy Director, and he'll tell you a little bit about our report. But before I bring him up, I want to tell you a little bit about this report. So after publishing its draft compensation plan, Edison held online meetings and provided a comment form. But many families couldn't attend those meetings, and no one story fits into a few short boxes online. That's why more than 200 of us came together to share our experiences and ideas for what a fair recovery from Edison's fire should look like. Out of that collaboration, we created this report called Fix What You Broke. This is a survivor-led community response built from lived experience and informed by science. Our goal with this report is simple: to help shape a plan that is fair and reasonable and effective, empowering the Eaton Fire recovery. And in this spirit of collective care and shared responsibility, I would like to introduce and bring up Andrew Wessels, who is one of the report's authors. And Andrew will share what's inside this report and walk us through the 3 core pillars that define a fair recovery.
Good morning, and thank you for being here. My name's Andrew Wessels. I'm an Eaton Fire survivor from Altadena. My family's home still stands, but it isn't safe. Certified tests found lead throughout the building, and we need major reconstruction, tearing out walls, lead abatement, and full remediation. We've been displaced for 9 months and have slept in 12 different homes. Nearly everything we own is unsalvageable, from clothes to our kids' toys and stuffed animals. Today, I'm here to share our community's response to Edison's draft protocol. At the heart of our response are 3 pillars. First, fix what you broke. Edison caused this disaster. It has both a legal and moral duty to repair it fully. Yet Edison's draft plan mirrors the limits of homeowners' insurance. It mostly covers what insurance already covers and excludes what insurance leaves out. That means no compensation for contaminated soil or yards, no coverage for vehicles, landscaping, or the contents of homes that can't be made safe, and little recognition of the emotional trauma of long-term displacement that families are enduring. But Edison isn't an insurer. Insurance contracts are narrow by design. Edison's obligation is broader. It's to repair the full footprint of harm it caused. That includes not only the physical and financial losses, but also the deep disruption to community life, the sleepless nights, the separation from schools, neighbors, and faith centers, the erosion of trust that comes when survivors are forced to fight for what's fair. Fix what you broke, meet the harm where it lives. Second, include everyone harmed. Smoke and toxic fallout didn't stop at a fire perimeter line. The fire's damage extended far beyond the official burn zone, seeping into standing homes, coating yards, and forcing families to flee homes that looked intact but were no longer safe to live in. But Edison's draft plan draws its recovery map as if those boundaries define who was harmed and who wasn't. It leaves out renters who lost everything, small and home-based businesses that kept our neighborhood running, and families who can document displacement, lab results, or public health warnings, but happen to live just outside a line drawn on a firefighter's map. And the plan values children as half or even a quarter of a human. But we know that our children feel the harm most deeply. They've lost their sense of safety, their schools, their friendships, and their belief that adults can protect them. Their recovery must be valued at least at parity with any adults. Every survivor counts. No fractional humans. No arbitrary map lines. Third, pay for housing until we get home. No one should lose housing before recovery is complete. Yet, under Edison's draft formula, families receive loss of use payments that fall far short of real rents in our zip codes. In Altadena, Pasadena, and Sierra Madre, rents for family homes now average double what Edison's model allows. And their formula ignores the real full costs of displacement, the security deposits, moving and storage fees, duplicate utilities, longer commutes, higher childcare costs, and the daily toll of being uprooted. Edison's duty isn't to estimate housing costs on paper. It's to ensure survivors have a safe roof over their heads until they can return to their homes or rebuild. Pay for housing until we get home. That's the baseline of fairness and the foundation of recovery. These are the three pillars of our 50-page community analysis, which includes survivor voices and a plain language guide to Edison's draft, organized by group and payment category. It's a lot. Like everything has been a lot since the fire. Edison dropped a 27-page protocol and rushed feedback days later, on top of insurance, FEMA, SBA, inspections, contractor quotes, denials, appeals, mortgages, and rent that we're already dealing with. It can all feel designed to exhaust people into giving up, but we didn't give up. After work and putting our kids to sleep, we sat together and we did this, because our community deserves to recover with dignity. We're not here to shout, we're here to solve. We're asking Edison to align the draft with reality and pay for the full footprint of their harm. Do that and recovery moves faster. Families go home sooner, kids get back to stable schools, small businesses reopen, and neighborhoods come back to life. These three pillars, fix what you broke, include everyone harmed, pay for housing until we get home, are how we move forward fairly and together. Thank you.
See what I mean about survivors not being victims? These survivors are civic leaders. It has been so amazing to me to see this Eaton Fire survivors community come together. People who for years, who might have just passed by in the grocery store not knowing each other, are now together. We're united. And we are working on turning our shared strength into faster and stronger recovery. With that, I'd like to introduce our final speaker. Another key leader behind this work, Krista Copeland, is a moderator of EFSN's Discord Health and Safety channel, and she's also admin of the very popular Standing Structures Facebook group. She'll speak about the blanket of toxic contamination left across our community by Edison's fire, and how the company's draft plan minimizes or excludes renters, smoke-damaged households, and the small business owners who power our community. Krista.
Hello, my name is Krista Copeland, and I do want to drill down more on the toxicity that has been talked about already. The Eaton Fire burned electric vehicles with toxic lithium batteries and thousands of pre-1976 homes built with lead paint, asbestos, and other hazardous materials. The smoke and ash from those materials blanketed Altadena, Pasadena, Sierra Madre, and beyond, with fine particles carrying heavy metals, asbestos fibers, and other toxic compounds. Testing confirms widespread contamination across these areas. Data tracked by the Eaton Fire Residents United show that among 235 surviving homes tested, every single one showed contamination from at least one toxic substance: lead, asbestos, lithium, or other heavy metals. And yet, this contamination is never addressed in Edison's plan. The contamination of soil in yards, play areas, parks, schools, and shared community spaces isn't mentioned at all. Only homes within the fire perimeter are eligible for compensation if they have smoke damage, yet thousands have been displaced beyond that perimeter because smoke travels. I live in one of those homes. My family lives a half mile from the fire perimeter, and we've been displaced since January 7th. Like so many others, dealing with insurance, remediation, contractors, the Small Business Administration, and endless research on what is safe has become a full-time job. And like many other toxic smoke-contaminated homes, we've had to discard all porous household materials, couches, mattresses, clothes, our children's toys, and stuffed animals. Because even a half mile away, our lead levels were 150 times California's safety threshold. But none of this is covered in Edison's plan because we are outside of the line. But even within the perimeter, survivors with toxic smoke damaged homes get only $10,000 total, which is supposed to include personal property contents too. The reality is that many families with smoke damage must spend well into 6 figures for comprehensive testing, replacing items, remediation, removing insulation, and as Andrew mentioned, even rebuilding parts of their homes just to make them safe again. Structures labeled as damage in the map receive flat tiered payouts capped at $50,000. But it's not just a warped window or a burned wall that needs replacing, whose homes were destroyed and whose costs go far beyond rebuilding. The soil beneath them may still be contaminated. In most cases, only the ash footprint from around the home was cleared, and no comprehensive testing was ever done to make sure lots were safe. Lastly, businesses were hit just as hard. Even those left standing had to shut down for months, dispose of most or all of their inventory, and are now struggling with fewer customers as nearby residents remain displaced. This toxic disaster has created a public health crisis, not just property loss. Edison must base recovery on science and real costs, not map lines or token flat payments. Everyone include everyone harmed. Thank you.
Thank you, Krista. And thank you again to Zaire and to Andrew for bringing both the heart and the framework of this survivor-led recovery project to life. As we've heard today, recovery is not just about rebuilding homes. It's about restoring our lives, our neighborhoods, and our trust. Our trust in the company responsible for this disaster will step up and help us come home, reclaim our communities, and rebuild the future that we have worked so hard to build for our children. That means, number one, fix what you broke. Compensate all losses from your fire. 2, every survivor counts. Value children, renters, and smoke-damaged homeowners and business people equally. And 3, pay for housing until we are home. Cover full living costs until we have our own roof back over our heads. Now, Edison's plan is still just a draft. The company now has the opportunity and the responsibility to do what is right, to build a fair and fully funded program that helps survivors rebuild. Edison for long has powered our neighborhoods. It now has a chance to power our recovery from its fire. Join survivors in shaping a recovery that brings every family home. You can read our full community report at efsurvivors.net/Edison Recovery. Again, that address is efsurvivors.net/Edison Recovery. Thank you so much for being here. That concludes our program for today. You could come on up, our speakers. We are ready for your questions. Any questions? Any questions for any of us? And again, we'll take questions, any media questions, and then our survivors will be available for stand-ups on the record.
Thank you for that draft. I think you've addressed a lot of the concerns that we have. So question, what would be the next step in presenting that to Edison? Is that something that was discussed, or how does that go about?
Well, I think It was sort of put to bed at 1 a.m. last night and then changed again this morning at like 6 a.m. After this press conference, we'll look forward to emailing it to Edison's CEO. Yeah. Yeah.
So too. We'll see.
Sure. Yes, absolutely. Anyone else?
It's a comment, a
Yeah.
feedback comment. Really great work. Thank you so much. One area that perhaps I would like to suggest for inclusion would be people with pre-existing conditions and disabilities. I
Yes.
fall into that category, and the displacement has been incredibly difficult for me because of my sensory sensitivities,
Yeah.
pre-existing PTSD, and pre-existing complex pain condition from an automobile injury. I have a spinal injury, and it's been really, really difficult. We've been forced to move back into a home that may be contaminated with lead because I got to the point where it was easier for me to risk lead poisoning than continue to deal with the additional problems coming from being an intersectionally disabled person.
Yeah, I'm so sorry to hear that.
Disabled
Yeah.
and disabled people and people with pre-existing conditions need to also be addressed. At the end of the day, I don't think it matters because I don't think asking Edison to do the right thing is going to yield any results.
Well, I hope you're wrong about that. I think that there's good people working at Edison. I know that, I know there's good people working at Edison. I've had friends work there over the years, and we hope that Edison, and we expect that Edison will step up to its moral and legal duty to fix what it broke. I think specifically to that, I mean, this just is an example of how the $10,000 flat payment for smoke damage survivors within the MAP line is completely is not reasonable, and also completely unreasonable based on previous precedent of other fires.
And can I add to that?
Yeah.
Like, just to put things in perspective, I have an 85. To put things in perspective, I have an 85-year-old mother,
Yeah.
and I have almost a 2-year-old daughter since this fire has happened. And if we do not recover within 2 years, there's an actual number that we need to recover in and be back. It needs to be 2 years. If we wait 10 years, that means my daughter becomes 12. She would have never experienced Altadena, or 13. My mother, who was yelling at me every day to put a mobile home on the property just so she could be back on her land because she's terrified that she won't see it again. And she doesn't know if she's going to live long enough at 85 to see it back. So that's why this is a 2-year thing, a 2-year program, a 2-year progress that has to happen. I've met with fire survivors from all over. We're the 4th biggest financial nation in the world as being Californians. It can be done. It needs to be done within 2 years. All these other places have not recovered. Katrina did not recover. All these other places did not recover. Paradise has not recovered. We keep saying all these people have recovered. No one's recovered. That's why we're so frustrated in making sure that we set an example of what real recovery looks like. Because we have to really recover. Nobody else has recovered. So all these people who keep saying, oh, these are experts, this is what we did for other people. Even what they did wasn't enough. The money that they paid to them wasn't enough because they still haven't recovered. They're still not back. Their communities are not back. And for my community, who I love everybody, it has to be different. We can set examples. We can put things in place for actual recovery, systems in place so nationwide this doesn't happen to your family because everybody thinks it's cool until it happens to you. That's the difference. It's all good until it happens to you.
Thank you, Fire. I mean, I think what's so amazing about this point is that nobody's asking for anything special. Nobody's asking for special treatment. We're simply asking to be restored to what we had before. We're simply asking to get back home. These are simple things, and it's, it's on the organization that destroyed our lives to simply bring us back to pre-existing condition. Yes.
Hi, I'm Maya. Thank you for this today. I am curious if you could speak more to your plans as a group to litigation process continues to get solidified and as the litigation unfolds in state court?
You know, it's really been one day at a time, to be honest. We didn't expect the draft to pop out, I guess, on September 17th or September 19th. It was only less than 2 weeks ago. And just talking among our community, it was, wow, this is bad. Wow, this is really, really bad for some people. And we're thinking, well, somebody should do something. And then we're like, well, you know, we are the Eaton Fire Survivors Network. Maybe we should do something. So we don't have a grand plan at this point. I think we just, you know, started collecting ideas from people within our community, and then, you know, some great people stepped forward to write something and present it. And literally over the weekend, we're like, oh, maybe we should do a press conference. And here we are. So we don't have a grand plan at this point. We're hoping that this is a service to the world, that we will collect survivors' voices and use our shared strength to try to help Edison come up with a stronger plan before it's finalized. We don't know, but we'll see. Stay tuned.
Describe what is the real definition of justice, not only for those who lost their homes, but for those members of the community who lost a relative.
Yeah. If anyone wants to take that, I mean, I think, I don't know. I don't think that we haven't really used the word justice. I think we want to be sort of reasonable, and so the only numbers that we cited in this report are the previous PG&E campfire case. PG&E was in bankruptcy at the time. It was a struggle from what I've read, it was a struggle, you know, it was in bankruptcy. It was a struggle. They had creditors coming at them from all directions. And PG&E paid much, much higher for nearly all categories in this draft than Edison. So,
and to add to that, they didn't recover. That's what I'm saying. They paid higher premiums.
Yeah, so that wouldn't
and
even
paid
be
more money,
justice,
and they never recovered. That's my point. And I know that factual, meaning met with all the people from not all the people, but the major people from these fires, from the campfire. They're the ones who telling me all of this. They're the ones who are being clear, saying that it wasn't enough. Their community can't recover. Don't wait on that. It was so many of their families who were waiting on the money that was going to come in to think that was going to help them recover, and they did not recover, and that's why their community did not make it. And it's still not back 7 years later, 10 years later.
Can I add one thing? The Edison. Oh yeah. Edison hired the administrators of the 9/11 Victim Fund. They're the experts in this. They are the high-paid consultants who are experts in that exact question. You know, I'm a writer and a former educator who now works in education and publishing technology. I am not the person who can answer that question. I don't think anyone up here has that expertise to answer that question. What we know is, looking at their protocol, is that it was woefully inadequate by any standards, any preset standards, in any view of what actual costs are. So Edison has hired probably the most expensive people in the world to do this. So I think that would be the appropriate person to ask that question to.
And I can add to one more part. I can make you visualize it. Visualize, and I'm not going to use my sister as example. I'm going to use my neighbor who lost her mother, because that's what haunts me, is visualizing, which all of it haunts me. Visualize your mother sitting in a room calling 911 while the house is on fire, burning down, and your mother is dying slowly from smoke and fire, and actually being burned alive. Let's be honest. What would you put on that? Watching your family member actually just being burned alive, is, you figure out what that would look like, and if you can replace that. When your family member is burned and you find them, it's crazy.
Any other questions from the media? Yes.
Okay. Are you satisfied with the response by the LA County Board of Supervisors, number one, and the Sheriff Department? Because during the tragedy, seemed that everything was in chaos, and they were never able to help people on time and to prevent people by dying.
It's you know, I think we're all haunted by that night. I think we're all haunted by that night. As Zaire says, every single survivor here will give you an hour-by-hour countdown of, you know, the evacuation, the scariness, people dying. I mean, it's horrific. I think that we certainly all hope that that doesn't happen again.
Protocol
Anyone
needs
else?
to be changed.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yes.
Is there going to be equal support for renters?
Yes, absolutely. Renters have a huge portion of this report, and I invite everybody to, you know, we structure this report so that every group of people, renters, people outside of the DINS boundary, you have a whole section that explains how the Edison plan impacts you. So renters are a very important part of this report, and we focus on renters because they were very much excluded from this draft protocol, and because we had a special focus on ensuring that the most vulnerable people, the people who might feel most pressured to quickly accept the settlement, are addressed. Yes. Hi. Wow. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Hugely. I'll answer that, and then I would love for anyone else to jump in. The question is, Anna, I guess from ABC, had said that UCLA released a report this morning that I had not seen that said that 70% of survivors are in limbo, some kind of limbo. And why is that? The Eaton Fire Survivors Network has 8,500 survivors. The heart of our community is a Discord, which is a mass messaging app. So we're watching the communications every day. This is where all these survivors are connecting with one another, talking about our recovery every single day. And so we're watching that conversation. We're seeing right now that there's two main reasons for this question of people being in limbo. Number one is what we just call the gap. Survivors just call it the gap. The gap means the difference between what insurance is paying you out, because 70% of us are experiencing illegal delays and denials from our insurance companies. So the gap is the difference between what insurance is paying you out and what it actually costs to recover, rebuild, remediate, etc. That's a massive gap. For many of us, one of our survivor groups took a poll of their group and found that gap on average is $300,000. And that's a yawning gap for many of us, and that's enough to keep us in limbo. The other portion of keeping in limbo that we found is just all the difficulties. I think Andrew was talking about it, about the SBA, the constant fighting every single day with your insurance, the bureaucracy, the getting of permits. I mean, it is like a full-time job being a survivor. And so it's like those two things. But that gap, the financial part, between what our limited insurance coverage covers and the actual costs, that is Edison's gap. Our insurance contracts are private contracts between us and an entity, right, that are written down in paper. These are the things that they cover.